Welcome back to Ben Leo tonight. Time now for Leo Unleashed, where yesterday I took myself off to Trafalgar Square in central London and spoke to people who were taking part in the Anti-Monarchy event Republic Day. So this marks the second year of a protest that launched last year, of course, on the anniversary of the coronation. It's organised by the Anti-Monarchy campaign group Republic, and they basically want to get rid of the monarchy. They've had enough of the royal family. They think it's a bit of a scam. They think it's too expensive, and they think really it's just outdated. This is what happened when I went down there.
Ben Leo reporting from London's Trafalgar Square, where anti-monarchy campaign group Republic is holding its annual rally to topple the British royal family.
In a minute with you guys, sorry.
Oh, OK. Why not?
Why not us? No, to be honest, you platform people who I don't agree with particularly, like Lady Victoria Hervey.
All right. Are you into censorship then?
Well, no, she's into censorship. Do you remember what she said?
What's your problem with her?
She said to, remember before the coronation, she said she should round up any activists and throw them in jail preemptively. That's a bit fascistic, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Thank you. So,
it is, but I don't agree with censoring people just because you don't agree with what they say.
No, neither do I.
What does your T-shirt say? Citizen, not subject. What does that mean?
What does it mean? Well, it means we're citizens, not subjects. Core British values include equality of opportunity, they include fairness, and when you reflect on the monarchy, I'm not talking about the individuals, I'm talking about the monarchy itself, it doesn't represent equality of opportunity.
I don't like to use the word president because that invites comparisons.
Who would be your president? Tony Blair?
No, because we would look for a president that was acceptable to the whole country.
But Tony's not acceptable.
Well, if people have changed their views on Tony Blair, we just have to accept that.
Would you like to tell us, are you pro or against the monarchy? I guess you're against, not my king. What don't you like about the royals?
I just think the whole thing's absurd.
What part of it is absurd? Is it the money? Is it the class divide?
No, the basic the basic institution, the monarchy, is absurd.
There was reports a few years ago saying that, from Brand Finance, saying that the royals were around £200 million net benefit after all said and done, the sovereign grant.
You've been listening to what he's been saying about the sums involved with the sovereign grant.
You don't believe that report?
No, I don't, basically. Anyway, nice to speak to you.
All right. Is it not nice, though, to have a bit of sort of cultural identity, something that makes us different?
We have the cultural identity anyway. That's not going to go away, is it?
I guess getting rid of the monarchy, it would be going away. That's an erosion of British identity, no?
No.
You're saying it's not going away, but it would.
Yeah, okay, but our culture develops and changes all the time.
Well, I mean, Republic Day is the second time we've done this, and it's just to showcase the campaign. But yeah, I mean, our reason for getting rid of it is the same. It's a corrupt institution, not good for our politics. It's undemocratic. Yeah.
What's corrupt about the royals?
Well, abuse of public money, £500 million a year. A lot of money spent on their own private lives, their own private homes. If you remember the MP's expenses scandal, this puts that into the shade.
Norman, you're in central London plotting to bring down the monarchy. 200 years ago, they'd have had you at the Tower of London, no?
200 years ago, I wouldn't have said it, probably. Our monarchy, unlike other European monarchies, is hopelessly out of date. It's imperialist in its outlook, a bit like the Russian Tsar would have been. And it costs us an absolute fortune. And whether you're a Republican or whether you're a monarchist in inclination, there's no defence for the amount of public money that's spent on the monarchy. 53% increase in what they got this year. 53% increase.
Yeah, but why is that? You know, what was the reason for the increase?
Well, the reason for the increase is because George Osborne, when he was Chancellor, rather foolishly linked the royal finances with the Crown Estate being in public hands in 1760. So now 12% of the money coming in from wind farms, which are covering our channel, is going straight to the King. He's done nothing to deserve that.
That's only 12%. I mean, if the Crown Estate's finding space for wind farms to lease out, they're generating billions for the Treasury, just over 10% is going to the sovereign grant, though. I mean, that's a paltry amount.
It should be 0%. Before 2011, it was 0%.
But it's Crown land, those wind farms.
But it's not royal land. This is the point. Crown Estate is not owned by the King, and it's not royal land. It's public land since 1760.
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, the monarchy these days is viewed by the papers as a bit of a soap opera. Look at all the stuff about.
That's part of the fun, isn't it?
Well, that might be part of the fun. Is that a reason for having a monarchy?
OK, I'm joined now by editor-at-large for The Man on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths. Charlotte, it is part of the fun, isn't it? It's like a real-life EastEnders, our royal family.
It's EastEnders, isn't it, really? I mean, without the drama of Harry and Meghan, what would I talk about? Over my cornflakes every Sunday morning.
I know.
But it's not just that. I mean, the King has actually worked, despite having cancer, has worked really hard this year on soft power, soft diplomacy, meeting Zelensky. Prince William's met with Trump. He's about to invite Trump over for a state visit. This is all part of the tapestry of our country and what we need, in democracy.
Yeah, I agree. Soft power, the British identity, the culture. What's the truth, though, about the finances? Because I mentioned a report to a couple of these guys yesterday saying, well, apparently some people reckon that they're a net benefit just about to the country with tourism. Graham Smith from Republic said, no, there's absolute BS. There's no proof to that. Any idea what the truth is?
I think they are a net benefit. I mean, the tourism factor is huge, absolutely huge. Like, even Meghan Markle, before she met Harry, came over to Buckingham Palace, posed outside the railings. I can't remember the number now, but wasn't it something like it cost us 80p? I mean, I don't know if that stat is out of date, but I remember growing up, we always used to say they cost us 80p.
I saw a graphic yesterday morning, which is just over maybe £1.20 each per year or something. Yeah,
it's like 2.5 million. And don't forget, this is a monarchy that's slimming down every single year. Just you wait till Prince William's the king one day, because he will slim it down even further. I think he's going to have a really low-key coronation. He's acutely aware of how important it is to not be flashing, the cash left, right and centre. He's going to be very, very slim.
Even when sorry to interrupt. Even when they came out on the balcony for VE Day, visibly I was thinking, oh God, there's not many of them left, is there? But as you say, they're slimming it down. £1.93, sorry, hold on a minute.
See, my stats are a bit out of date, but they're really aware that they're perceived as being spending our public money, and so they try really hard not to,
But you can overstate the tourism benefits. I mean, people go to France, they go to Paris and go to the Élysée Palace. So just because there's an elected head of state doesn't mean that you don't get tourism. However, I'm a pragmatic monarchist. I think they do bring a stability to the system. I think they do need to watch the expenditure. That 53% increase this year is very hard to justify.
But that's because they leased more wind farm land out.
Yeah, whichever way you look at it, it's not a good look.
It's not just the sovereign grant getting more money, it's also the Treasury. Britain is getting more money as a result of that, the bulk of it.
But as you've said, they are very conscious of the money that is being spent, and I think they need to continue in that vein.
Okay.
But the clincher for me is if you had an elected head of state, it would increasingly become very partisan, and it's not above politics.
OK. Charlotte, let me move on. Harry and Meghan have been in the headlines, of course. Harry's knocking on doors down London streets and gallivanting, don't know what he's been up to. But in America, Saturday Night Live, a pretty much left-leaning comedy show, big show, has now taken aim, unbelievably, at them both. Take a look at this.
President Trump also announced a new trade deal with the UK that will reopen British markets for American companies. All that Britain demands in return is that we keep these two.
This isn't good news, is it, for Harry and Meghan?
They absolutely hate comedy skits like this about them. Can you remember when they did when South Park did the worldwide privacy tour? They took it really seriously. I mean, they can't stand it. They don't really have a sense of humour, which is a shame, because I remember Harry having a great sense of humour, but apparently it's been wiped away now.
That's why everyone loves him, wasn't it?
They won't see the funny side of this.
Very quickly, Charlotte, your paper, or the Daily Mail at least, today they've released another story, an update on the Harry knocking on doors down London Street, mystery, I guess. They've said that he was looking for a friend. They've identified the friend, an aristocrat, but it turns out the guy and his wife Harry was looking for wasn't even in the country anyway. We've got a mocked-up AI picture of Harry on the doorbell as a delivery driver. But this is bizarre. What's he doing knocking on random doors knowing that his friend's not even there?
Well, he didn't realise. I was working on this story for today's paper. So Georgina and John Vaughan are his old friends that live there. And they're actually equally friends with both him and Prince William. And he obviously doesn't keep in touch with his friends well enough to know that they've long since rented that property out to some Spaniards, actually. I think what happened, I am guessing, but it's very near a pub called the Duke on the Green, and that's his favourite pub. It's owned by his friend Mark Dyer. I think maybe he'd had a couple of pints and then he thought he'd just nip in on his friends. And what happened was he was knocking on lots of doors because he couldn't quite remember which number it was. One can only assume. And that's why he was caught on these ring doorbells.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened. I think it's been so long since he's been in the UK that he knew it was the right road, but he couldn't quite remember what house it was. And what a shame, he's obviously not in touch with these people because apparently they moved out a couple of years ago. They rented out now.
But Charlotte, who's giving him PR advice? Because look, at the beginning of all of this, I had some sympathy for him, you know, a divided family and the rest of it. But it's almost week after week he's committing massive blunders.
This time last week I was on Ben Leo's show slightly defending him, and boy do I regret that, because the other thing that came out, and it's funny he had a Deliveroo picture there, is that he'd received a Deliveroo last year while staying at his friend's house, which is against all security protocol. I mean, in terms of knocking on the doors a couple of weeks ago, I don't think that requires PR advice, but security would certainly not be pro him walking around with no security, knocking on random doors.
I mean, if I was looking for an old friend, I wouldn't go knocking on random doors, let alone someone who is going to court and claiming that his life is at stake because he hasn't got 24/7 gun cops around him.
Yeah.
I mean, did he think no one was going to find out about this, especially pressing on a Ring doorbell?
Yeah, exactly. Right, let's move on.